Gary Danielson, the great analyst for CBS, he joins us now. What'd you make of the game last night, Stanford, Oregon?
Hi, Dan.
Hey, bud.
I guess the only term that I was, it was a fun game to watch. You're right. The two different styles made the game. The only term that I was having trouble with was the constant use of the word that Stanford was tougher than Oregon. I don't think that's the word. It was a different style. For example, Kyle Long, who played for Oregon last year, one of the toughest guys you'd ever run across. But the style of their play doesn't really lead them to have the opportunity to play tough style football. It's a different style. Question that they're Stanford's a very tough team, but it doesn't mean Oregon isn't tough. It's just their style doesn't look like they're playing tough football. And I guess that was the only thing that bothered me. But the last series is one of the reasons I find people who give too much credit for the hurry up, as if just if you spread people out and go fast, you have an inherent advantage of winning the game. I think it's an effective style and can be used to your advantage, like a play-action pass or a screen pass or a no-huddle. But it doesn't guarantee you a win because you go fast. And at the end of that game, if they push that in there, they have first down at the 1 foot line. On 2 out of their 3 plays, they fumble.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really where I find that style to be a bit of a shortcoming when you really need to run the ball or really need to control the clock.
All right, what's this do for the top 5?
That's where college football always produces, if you ask me. There's so many games going on, and it is what we do as, so-called experts, or we're asked to come in and comment on the game. You have a talk show, people writing columns, blogs. We're asked to make decisions before it's necessary to decide. And, it seems like there's a lot of football to be played. November is the big month.
Yeah.
And these teams have now positioned themselves where the games really start to matter. We don't know which game is going to be the determining game. But I think a pecking order has started to evolve here, and I think they've lined up. Obviously, if Alabama wins out, I don't care if they win out running quarterback sneaks, they're going to be in the championship game. I think Florida State now has positioned themselves with their schedule of how they've won and their excellence of play that they're going to be in the game. The question starts to arise here, what if additional people get picked off? What happens if Alabama or Florida State loses? And this is where I want to talk about Ohio State a little bit. I mean, these guys are pretty good football players. I mean, you remember that 2002 Ohio State football team that everybody laughed about, saying they had no chance against Miami. They won the BCS championship. The game needs to be decided on the field. They have, I think this is right. I think I'm pretty right. I did this a little bit a while ago. I think 19 out of their 22 starters are juniors or seniors. This is a very proud, tough football team. Believe me, I've been around Urban Meyer. You do not survive if you can't play tough, physical football on his football team. And I think they would give anybody a good football game. And I think it's going to be tough to pass Ohio State no matter what Baylor does, because Baylor does not play a conference championship game.
Yeah, and that's always been my problem, that it should be a level playing field, that everybody plays a conference championship game or nobody does. Because the Big Ten, I remember you'd play Michigan, Ohio State play Michigan, then that's it. And then it would be a disadvantage for them. We're talking to Gary Danielson from CBS Sports. I'm just trying to figure out, Baylor's got Oklahoma State. They've got a little bit more juice in their schedule than Florida State does. Ohio State is really a victim of their own conference there. So I'm trying to figure out if everybody wins out, which it won't happen, but if we're looking at this trying to handicap it, do you think Florida State is the second best team in the country?
We never know. Our eyes fool us, obviously, when we're picking games. If we all knew what our eyes and trusted our eyes and we could do this, none of us would be doing what we do, and we just bet football games. It would be easy if we could tell who was the better team. Watching them play, seeing the level of excellence they have at quarterback, the way they've built a physical team that can run, their front seven on defense, I think in a given game, I like their chances of beating anybody in the country. They play as tough as Stanford physically. They're able to throw the ball as well as anybody. They're built in the image just like where Jimbo Fisher learned his football. They're built in that Saban ball control, tough, elite athletes on the wings image. I can't see any weakness in their football team just watching them play.
Chances of LSU beating Alabama?
I don't see why it's not a good football game and an even football game, and I'll tell you why. These two teams love playing against each other. Of all the games that I've been watching college football and been doing it, since when I played in the 70s, this matchup most reminds me of that 10-year war between Ohio State and Michigan that ended the season, Bo and Woody. They fought it out on the field. They made the big chill was about the game. Remember, they go there and bitch about the play calling, and they should have passed more, they should have run more, they should have punted, they should have kicked a field goal. It has all those attributes. And then when you put in top of it, just to give you an example of the excellence of the players on the field, that 2011 game when they played the rematch, and there's still players that played and contributed in that game. Some of them were starters. From that game, 31 players were drafted in the NFL. A bunch of first-rounders, we know that. Okay, 31 players drafted. There's still about 15 more guys that will be drafted that contributed in that game. So a total of 45 NFL players were playing in that game, and there's a new wave coming right now in this game. I put the talent in this game, just overall potential NFL ready talent above any two teams playing football.
Heisman Trophy candidates here. I thought it was Mariota's to lose. I don't know if he did exactly that, but
pretty much would have to say he did.
Okay. I have Manziel. I give him maybe extra credit because he did do what he did against Alabama, and I said that he created a lot of these hurdles that he's been forced to overcome coming into this season, all the off-field stuff, but I think he's the most fascinating player in college football. I think he's must-see TV. I don't know if that warrants another Heisman. I don't know if it's Jameis Winston. I don't know if Bryce Petty is going to get some extra love. I didn't think he played exceptionally well last night, but you're handicapping here. Who do you have?
I think it's right about now in November when we should start talking about it. Unfortunately, we start talking about it in August. Okay, it's just kind of the way. If I had to pick my favorite for it, it would be A.J. McCarron.
Okay.
I think first of all he deserves it. You remember last year's game when he threw that screen pass to win that game, and he just opened up emotionally. I don't think anyone understands the pressure of playing quarterback at Alabama for 3 straight years and having to win every game and getting everybody's best shot.
Well, Nick Saban understands that.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. And then if you watch that 60 Minutes feature, I think everybody else could get a glimpse. I was just on a recent show with Phil Simms, and he asked me to compare who does A.J. McCarron, what could be his upside, in the NFL. And I said, Phil, he's like you. He's learned how to play for a coach like Parcells. That's not easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I do believe that as A.J. was on one of these pass-happy teams, he could put up 4,000 yards passing too. He's not asked to do that. He's asked to do it by throwing 20 passes a game, and it's a pretty difficult chore. I think he's right in the middle of it, and I think if he goes undefeated again and puts his team into the championship situation, because it's going to vote before the actual game, that's who I would vote for. But I'll tell you, I don't know if I'd draft him over Manziel. I don't know if I'd draft him over Winston first, but I sure think I'd think about having him on my team if I was an NFL team.
Did you bring up the Texas rumors to Saban?
I haven't seen him yet. It may be low on my question list.
I don't think he's going. I think the media is rooting for it, so it's a great story to talk about forever. I just think, Alabama, there's pressure, but he applied his own pressure. And that's damn good pressure to have if, you're winning championships or they expect that, because that means you're pretty good.
Yeah, and I think, I was out of practice yesterday, and I just have to tell you, he's got a whole wave of future first-round picks that he's recruited the last 2 years that aren't playing. He's got another class that are coming in. I just don't understand why he would. Everybody's got their own choice in life, but I think he's got a pretty good thing going right here, and I think he enjoys the challenge. And, it's a great challenge in the SEC, but, he's got a few. Listen, this Thursday night games, those two games, really changed the dynamic of this big Saturday night game between LSU and Alabama. They've been off the radar. Usually they get a whole week of media attention. And there's a few demons in LSU. They're 2 plays away from playing for the three-peat themselves as national BCS champions. 2 plays.
Yeah.
They could have turned around in the Alabama game, or they'd be doing it. And I think they got a little demons, and I think they've been very nice that they haven't had to talk about it all week. I expect Les Miles to have his team ready because he knows it's a chin-strap game, and the toughest team will win.
We'll be watching Saturday night, Gary. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Gary Danielson from CBS Sports.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.